Hi sweetie. We talked about drug addiction in class today. We are both psychologists and I think it is interesting.
Hey Nadia, that is a really hairy subject.
I know. My friend is a heroin addict. He is super hard to connect to these days.
I understand drug addiction because I grew up around a lot of drugs in high school and actually experimented with marijuana, methamphetamines, cocaine, ecstasy, opiate pills, mushrooms, LSD, and mescaline. Especially in high school when all of my friends were experimenting, it was easy to always be on something, at least marijuana. I remember it as one long blur, and during that time doing things at home with my parents just didn't seem very fun. I wanted to explore life and do what was forbidden.
My friend began to steal and act out in ways that were not friendly. I made a commitment to myself to use drugs to expand my mind, not shrink it.
I realize that people who take drugs on a continuous basis are really searching for some kind of deeper psychological and perhaps even spiritual fulfillment. It is because of this particular insight that I would reinforce alternative ways of spiritual completion in therapy in order to access a more authentic form of wholeness and fulfillment.
In my opinion, people who use drugs like methamphetamines and heroin are really just looking for an ultimate state of consciousness, and because they cannot maintain it, they continue using more and more.
So to frame this type of scenario, I would see the drug addict as a seeker and a voyager of higher states of being. Looking at the motivation of a drug addict from this perspective could elicit its own theoretical framework for drug addiction, similar to Christina Groff's notion of the thirst for wholeness. Perhaps a kind of inner liberation could be reached where the client finds a way to surrender to more subtle levels of awareness, those even greater than drugs.
Another thing that comes to mind is the latest in offshore boga and ayahuasca rehab treatments that entail extremely powerful detox medicines that put the patient in a multiple-hour catatonic state of cleanse and self-reevaluation, which in some research find to be highly efficacious.
The topic of drug abuse is a very complex and cultural phenomenon that will not disappear. It is for this reason that I am open to work with this population, because I feel that humans as a culture need to find a way to connect with medicine and perhaps even recreational use of drugs in a way that is life-affirming and sustainable.